All America, all the time. Sit down, buckle up, and get ready for The Dan Bongino Show.
Yes, it is a good morning. Happy Wednesday morning as we are here again on The Dan Bongino Show. Shawn Farash filling in on The Dan Bongino Show for the third straight day. It's been an absolute thrill. Happy to have you all with us. We got Vince Colonnese coming up in the second half of the show for his regular Wednesday spot. Folks, I want to let you know the Democrats are fighting again. They're fighting again and they're singing again. And we're going to get to both, okay? But they are fighting again. The Democrat civil war is intensifying. They're at each other's throats. And this time, the race to watch is in Michigan because...
That's the Michigan way.
Yes, the Chipmunk and Abdul El Sayed. They're at it. August 4th, primary. Next week, we are 6 days away from a very contentious primary. We've got that today. We've got Mamdani being sued by an unlikely group of people. Unlikely, but hilarious. And an interesting twist there as well. Save America Act. Is that going to wind up getting passed in the Senate? Are they going to actually try and do their jobs? Who knows? John Cornyn seems to think that it's okay that the Senate can take a month off. We talk about that. We're going to talk about that with Vince as well. And the Democrats fell for a very interesting scam. Funny. They have no money, and they got scammed out of a pretty sizable chunk. We'll get to all that and more here on the Dan Bongino Show. Folks, do me a favor if you can. Head over to Bongino.com/Shawn. You know my show, Shawn Farash Live, is launching August 17th. Rumble.com/Shawn is where you can find it. 1 p.m. Eastern Time, weekdays. It's going to be a whole lot of fun. We have a cool Friday, every Friday segment planned now after yesterday's resounding approval in the live chat. Rumble.com/Shawn. And you can subscribe to Shawn Farash Live, the podcast, anywhere you get your podcast, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or any of your favorite podcasting apps. I've already tested it out on several podcast apps. You could find it. Of course, if you're having trouble with that, head over to Bongino.com/Shawn and you could subscribe there. We have a heck of a show for you planned. But before we get to that, I want to get to a word from our friends at Brickhouse Nutrition. This is lean. Weight loss injections are everywhere. But here's the catch. About 15% of users quit because of the cost and another 15% stop because of the side effects. A while back, I wanted to drop some pounds too. So I did my research on the shots. And for me, it was a hard no. I don't do shots. Instead, I choose lean from Brickhouse Nutrition, and here's why. Weight loss shots work by helping control blood sugar and appetite, so you eat less. No argument. Shots can work for many people, but lean was doctor formulated to do similar things naturally. Lean helped tackle my hunger and help support steady energy without constant cravings. And lean did something injections don't do. It helped my body turn fat into energy, so I burned fat instead of storing it. My favorite part, lean is a nutritional supplement, not a shot. No prescriptions, no needles. I lost weight with lean, and I believe you can too. Go to brickhousenutrition.com/Dan. That's brickhousenutrition.com/DAN. Use the promo code Dan, D-A-N, for 20% off. brickhousenutrition.com/Dan. These statements have not been evaluated by the FDA. And this product is not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease and is not a substitute or alternative for care from a healthcare provider. brickhousenutrition.com/Dan. Thank you, Brickhouse Nutrition. Let's go. There it is. The Democrat civil war is underway. They're fighting again. And I love to see it. The race to watch now, Michigan. They are divided in Michigan. And some people look at it and go, you only care about this race because you think Haley Stevens is hilarious. And that's part of it. It's going to lie. That's part of it. But it's also...
That's the Michigan way.
So that's the Michigan way. We have to care about what's going on in Michigan because that's the way. Michigan Democrats have a Senate problem and no easy answer. This is a great article on Red State highlighting this deep divide that you're seeing in the Democrat Party, not just in Michigan, but all across the country. They are at war with themselves. They are chomping at the bit against each other. They've got fists up, right? They're ready to start going to war. You've got a hard left faction of the Democrat Party, which appear now, because of what you contrast them with, they appear to be the moderates. But it's crazy. The people who want to trans your children and throw open the border and, nobody's illegal, all right? You have these people, high taxes, Medicare for all. they all believe in the same type of, communist platform items that the actual communists of the DNC and the Democratic Socialists of America believe in, the ones who've said this.
I mean, our goal is liberation. Our goal is communism.
That's right. The goal is communism. That's not me. I didn't say that. That wasn't a voiceover. I didn't do that. That's not fake. That was David Jenkins. He is a member of the Democratic Socialists of America. We played earlier in the week that woman, who took up a lot of the box on the screen there, right? Jabba, solo. She was going over the entire platform. Abolish the Senate, abolish prisons, abolish the border, abolish the presidency, all of that stuff. They're all about communism, public control over large corporations, government control over large corporations, et cetera, et cetera. So we know that there's an actual communist wing of the Democrat Party, and then there's just the normal hard left radical wing of the Democrat Party. There are no moderates left, but these two very entrenched wings and factions of the Democrat Party are essentially at war with themselves. They're at war with each other. We hear all the time about Republican infighting, and my gosh, we have to stop fighting with each other. Well, unfortunately, I hate to break it to a lot of people who love to use that talking point, but it's not infighting. We're clearing out the crazies from our party so we don't wind up the way the left wound up. You see, what happened on the left is they allowed the crazies, the AOCs, the Squad, right? The Pramila Jayapals of the world, the Ilhan Omars of the world. Some people did something. The Cori Bushes of the world and folks like that. They allowed that to fester, right? They took that whole ideology, that whole thought process, that whole approach of, well, if we just ignore the problem, it'll go away. Nothing gets me more upset than people who tell me, well, stop talking about people like, Candace or Tucker. Stop talking about those problems. If you stop giving it attention, it'll go away. Try that with a flat tire. I'm serious. Try that with a flat tire. You have a flat tire? Ignore it really hard. Do the, like you see like those little kids, I'm not touching you, or like they're pretending like you're not there. What? Do you hear something? Ignore your leaky roof. Ignore that real hard, right? Your house on fire, ignore it. I'm just going to ignore this fire away. Fold your arms in defiance. I will not acknowledge that the problem exists, even though the problem is eating your home alive. Yeah, try that. The only way to address a problem is to address the problem, right? The only way to solve the problem is to acknowledge that it exists and come up with a solution. And for us on the right, the solution was, you're going to start blaming the Jews for quite literally everything? Okay, it's wet outside. It's not rain. It was the Mossad hijacked a fire truck connected to a fire hydrant and sprayed the neighborhood. Trust me, bro, tune in at 6 o'clock. That's what we want in our party? Well, Sean, they're just asking questions. No, they're not asking questions. You had Candace yesterday outright saying Tyler Robinson did not kill Charlie Kirk. Despite all the evidence that was shared in the preliminary hearing, she came out and said the opposite. I'm supposed to let that type of thing go on in our tent? We invite you into the tent. You start dropping turds in the punch bowl. You start flinging sugar honey iced tea all over the place. And we're supposed to say, that's okay. They're just asking questions. No, that's not okay. The left made that mistake. They said, you know what? Look at all these commies and these socialists. Let's let them in. It'll grow our numbers. It'll be, the ends justify the means. And now what happened? All those crazy commie socialist radicals have taken over the party. And to anybody who says, no, it's not only a couple of them. They're all over the party. And even the ones who aren't directly endorsed or in line with the Democratic Socialists of America, even those people, they're still hard left and they're being influenced and pulled by that radical wing of the Democrat Party of the left. So let's look at Michigan now, because that's the Michigan way. Red state. Okay, this beautiful article written by Duke. I don't know who Duke is, but Duke is a tremendous person, even though I don't know who that is. We love Duke. Tremendous job. Michigan Democrats have a Senate problem and no easy answer. You're down to two candidates who are not too inspiring. I mean, maybe you're inspired by Abdul El Sayed. Maybe you're inspired by him because he's got that DSA. Maybe that's that whole thing. And then you got Haley Stevens. Not good. And this is usually what you see on the Republican side, right? You see a contentious primary and the Democrats have like one candidate. They skip like Tallarico. Tallarico won his primary against Jasmine Crockett, but it got contentious between John Cornyn and Ken Paxton. And it's, we're infighting. Here we go again. That stupid talking point. Again, primaries are a good thing. So the two Democrat candidates for United States Senate who are going to compete a week from yesterday to take on Mike Rogers, who's running unopposed or de facto unopposed. I think he's running unopposed in Michigan to be their next nominee and their next representative in the upper chamber of Congress. It is amusing to watch the chipmunk, Haley Stevens. That's the Michigan way, right? Christmas, Christmas time is here. Right? Somebody yelled at me because I got the words wrong yesterday. I did. I said time for toys and time for tears. It's actually time for cheer. I accidentally got that one wrong. But I was saying, maybe I was talking about tears of joy. How do you know? Then tears of joy. A little creed on this Wednesday morning. Yes. Michigan. Yes, there it is. Michigan deserves competent leadership. Haley Stevens and Abdul Al-Sayed aren't setting people's expectations too high. That's the truth. That's the truth. And they're fighting with each other. So which way do you go if you're a Michigander? Which way do you go? Do you go the route of Haley Stevens and her goofy little mannerisms because you think it's cute and it's funny and I am your voice. When they make fun of the way I talk, they're talking about all of Michigan. No, we're just talking about you. You silly little chipmunk of a woman. That's the Michigan way, right?
That's the Michigan. Whoa, that's really hot. I was a super chipmunk.
That was a super Haley Stevens chipmunk. Super Haley Stevens chipmunk. Haley Stevens has not been running that smooth of a campaign. She had that little Howard Dean movement, right? A little bit of stick it to him. A little bit of stick it to him. Listen, in Michigan, this is going to be a problem. Stevens in recent polling leads Mike Rogers by about 1.5 points. In a couple polls, Abdul Al-Sayed trails him by like 8 points. And I'm conflicted here. Do I want Abdul Al-Sayed to win because he's easier to beat? But then that crazy Islamo-Marxist candidate, that maniac, gets closer to power. And so is that like too close for comfort? Because if we screw up and we lose in Michigan, he goes to the Senate. But then you have to ask yourself, is that worse than Haley Stevens going to the Senate? She's just going to vote Democrat on everything anyway. So you might as well put the candidate up that's going to be the easiest to beat. And I believe it will be Abdul Al-Sayed. Listen, a lot of people have said over the years that, every election cycle that comes up is the most important. But I think these midterms are quite literally the most important. Because you have communists up and down the ballot. But I want to get to this cut here from Haley Stevens. She had a little, she took it to Abdul Al-Sayed. She called him out. And this is how passionate they're getting, right? This is beyond just your typical little primary debate. We got that first video of Haley Stevens. She's calling him out. She said, look at this. She's calling him out for all of the radical policies that he's got, for the run for governor that he made in 2018, that he purchased a website, getting ready to run for president. Haley Stevens, really, a little bit of stick it to him. She's taking it to him on the debate stage. Let's roll that first clip.
A lot of you remember Abdul from when he first ran for governor in 2018. It didn't work out. So he started the podcast, he wrote the books, and now he's running for Senate. And he's already bought the website for president. It's just another rung on the ladder. That's not what this job is for me. That's not why I'm putting up my hand in this moment. It's not about celebrity. This is about making sure that Mike Rogers doesn't get anywhere close to this seat. I'm the only one on this stage who has beat MAGA 4 times and delivered repeatedly for this state and for our values, for our rights and our freedoms. And I promise you, Michigan, I will make us shine.
Showdown in Michigan. The chipmunk is endorsed by Jim Clyburn, and Gretchen Whitmer. Abdul El Sayed is endorsed by Bernie Sanders, AOC, the Democratic Socialists of America. This is going to show you where the energy is in the Democrat Party. Now, the question is, and we don't know the answer, and there are various, different theories and hypotheses about this. If the socialists win these primaries, and many of them have in places like New York, in places like Colorado, that Milat Kiros, right, Colorado, that Daria Lisa Avila Chevalier in New York, right, the whole America deserved 9/11, use the American flag as a napkin, all that garbage that they talk about, and so on and so forth. These socialists that are winning all throughout the country. And let's not overlook Tallarico. He may not be DSA endorsed, but that guy's a maniac. What's the first thing you think? The first thing you love about America? Trans kids. Like, you might be weird. Don't somebody look at his hard drive, please. Like, what you got going on over there, Jimmy? The vegan running for Senate. Or now he's apparently not a vegan. Look, I'm eating a turkey leg. I'm super cool. Oh, come on. Stupid. It's just out of control. The question remains this: if these socialists win, are the moderates going to stay home? Are the moderates going to stay home? The moderate voters. And the wedge issue, the wedge that I want to drive on the left in that Democrat Party, okay, is, hey, you may not like Trump. You may not like me. You may not like the way Donald Trump tweets. You may not like some of the policy positions that Donald Trump stands for. But at least under President Trump, you're not suffering under communism and squalor and the things that you see happen in these third world countries like a Venezuela, which wasn't always a third world country, like in the Soviet Union, like in Cuba, like in communist China. At least you're not suffering through things like that. Okay, you got to get through a few mean tweets. All right, you got to get through a couple of appearances in the media where he says some things that you don't necessarily love. All right, fine. That's better than suffering through communism, though, isn't it? Can't you agree with that, moderate Democrats? At the very least, I'm hoping those moderate Democrats, when you see a socialist or a communist, an open socialist or a communist, if you're endorsed by the Democratic Socialists of America, remember what they said. Their goal is communism, the whole 9 yards. Remember the platform positions that we played on Monday. If they're on the ballot, those are the people that, and that's the vision that you're voting for when you vote Democrat. Remember, if you vote for a Democrat candidate that you believe is a moderate, that's not a commie. I'm not voting for a commie. Every seat that is occupied by a self-identifying Democrat on Capitol Hill is weight behind the snowball of communism that is picking up speed and getting bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger, rolling down the mountain, aiming for your country. Every Democrat that gets elected adds momentum to that snowball. If you don't want that snowball to wreck your entire country, you can't vote Democrat in November. You can't. Either stay home or take up an industrial-sized clothespin, plug your nose with it, and vote Republican. Just start with once. It's like a little gateway drug. Come on. I'll take you in the tent instead of having some of these crazy lunatics. We'll hash out the rest later. You can't vote Democrat in November if you don't want communism. That's the way the party has gone. It's been hijacked by commies. I want to clown on a little Haley Stevens, too, though. She was on that. This is another one from that debate. She had a little, she's being a little chipmunk again. So I want to have some fun with her real quick. Let's roll this. And then I got to get to John Fetterman. John Fetterman has been the target. And again, he's putting himself out there as a common sense Democrat. And he's pretty far to the left on a lot of issues. But considering that is what a moderate looks like on the Democrat side of things is alarming. He clapped back at Abdul Al-Sayed as well. But first, let's play Haley Stevens. This is that C-SPAN clip. This is from the debate as well. She's just, I don't know. I find her funny because she sounds a little bit like Chris Farley. She sounds like she's like sucking helium before her responses. They're making fun of the way I talk. Well, what are we supposed to do? You sound silly. Roll it. Haley Stevens, C-SPAN debate clip.
Manufacturing geek, okay? I have visited hundreds of small to mid-sized manufacturing shop floors. I have operated CNC machines in my life previous to being in elected office. I have a deep passion for the bread and butter of our state and a unique understanding of it.
I mean, she definitely looks like somebody who might have a passion for bread and butter. Right?
Haley
Stevens.
She is what we would call a lowbrow. She has maybe one finger of space between her eyebrows.
Yeah,
and
she
her
looks
hairline.
like somebody said she looks like Gru from Despicable Me.
And those are known as not very smart people.
Oh,
lowbrows.
Oh,
she is literally the living being of lowbrow.
Well, that's interesting because Somali have the big dome
people
heads.
used to pluck their forehead hairs of their hairline to go up higher so that they would be a highbrow because that makes people assume smarter with a bigger forehead. So people would assume that I'm a genius. I have a very big forehead.
You are a genius. There it is. All right, so Haley Stevens is lowbrow.
Yeah.
Haley Stevens is high-pitched voice, too. So lowbrow, high-pitched voice. There it is. I've been on factory floors before. I've operated a CNC machine. I'm your best choice to beat Mike Rogers. That's not a bad... I don't even need the helium.
You didn't. You did very good.
I did a very good job. I knew Alvin and the Chipmunks very well. I got along with Alvin and Simon and Theodore, and we sang the Christmas song. I could be from Michigan. That's great.
You gotta do that's the Michigan way.
That's the Michigan way. All right, there you go. Abdul Al-Said is taking aim at guys like John Fetterman. How dare you, by the way, attack John Fetterman? I think he called him an ogre or something. But John Fetterman, to his credit, has been very outspoken about the far left, I don't even want to say lurch, but their embrace of just social and economic, just destructive policies, right? Communism. Again, AOC likes to say, they call everything they don't like communism. No, I call communism. And you people are admitting it's communism. I'm not looking at AOC going, yeah, you're a communist because I don't like what you said. That's what the left does. The left goes, wow, Donald Trump said close the border, must be a Nazi. Must be a fascist. Must be a xenophobe. The left has done this every time. Oh, wait, you want low taxes? You're just obviously the second coming of Adolf Hitler. Right? Makes sense? This is what the left does. Every accusation is a confession when it comes to them. So I want to roll this cut from John Fetterman. Fetterman just simply does not care what the Democrats do to him, which is nice. He's playing with house money. He's out there speaking his mind. Now, here's the one thing I'm going to tell you about with John Fetterman. I think there's a little bit of politicking going on here. He is a politician, after all. In Pennsylvania, it is a swing state. It is a purple state. So is John Fetterman appealing to moderates when he appears as a moderate? Because he is fairly far left on a lot of these, especially cultural issues, like the trans issue, the abortion issue. He's far left on those issues. So I'm not trying to, pat this guy on the back and say, hey, here he comes. He's going to be a Republican. I think if there's any sort of party change, he's just going to go independent. And he kind of makes that clear. And he's made that clear. His red line is, the support of terrorism, communism, and the whole Israel issue that's driving him out of the party. My question is, how many people are like him in the party that will renounce their membership, so to speak, to the party over those issues as well? But let's play John Fetterman because they ask him, hey, what do you think about this? He doesn't seem to care what the Democrats are going to do to him. And I'll tell you what, saying this publicly, it should earn some praise. And I do appreciate seeing this. We need more Democrats to talk like this.
Now, what's that leave for you?
I agree with the president.
You're going to get primaried. What does that leave for you, Senator?
Well, sure. I mean, definitely. I would rather be honest. I would rather stand up to this extremism and just tell people, as a Democrat, I think here's the truth where we are right now. And logic. Like the misinformation is substantial. So I sleep great, because I just couldn't lie or pretend some of these things that are in front of us right now. I can't toe every line in the Democratic Party, but I do have the same core values when I was elected, but I'm always going to be proud to stand with Israel. And I also think we should have a secure border. And I think it's lunacy, the emerging part of the Democratic Party with whatever that DSA is. They are dangerous. And this is why we have a tool like the filibuster here in the Senate.
Yeah.
And that's why I was willing to be front and center. And yeah, I take a lot of heat.
He does take a lot of heat. And, his voting record with the Democrats, I think he votes with them, I think 74% of the time, if I'm not mistaken. That means 26% of the time he's not voting with the Democrats, which is, well, it's too much. You have to vote in line with what the cult says to vote for, right? John Fetterman voted to confirm a couple of Trump's nominees. That's like, oh, that's a terrible thing to do. Well, why? If they're qualified. The President of the United States has the right to pick nominees to these cabinet positions. The Senate is supposed to confirm them if they believe they're qualified. It's not supposed to be a partisan thing, right? Fetterman taking and drawing a line on the border. And that's interesting because that is an issue that it's not like that is an issue that quite literally has no home on the left. You can't say you want a secure border and call yourself or believe that the rest of the Democrats stand for that and support that. They don't. They don't. So I give credit to John Fetterman for saying these things. And again, he's saying these things publicly. And I think there is a little bit of posturing going on there. I think there's a little bit of positioning going on there. I think he knows he's going to be in a primary in Pennsylvania in a couple years. He's up again in 2028. And he is trying to appear reasonable so that reasonable, independent, working class voters don't fall for the socialism crap and they reelect him. I don't think he's going to win, but I give him credit for at least not wavering. And he's the only one. How embarrassing is that? That John Fetterman, the gym shorts and hoodie guy, is the only guy on the Democrat Party that has the testicular fortitude to stand up and say that's wrong. I don't see any other elected Democrats doing this except Fetterman. And I think other elected Democrats are watching and they're saying, well, what are they going to do to him? I don't want that to happen to me. Oh, so instead you'd rather just let this country fall into the control of or under the control of communists? The typical Democrat answer will be, yeah, well, at least I'll be in power. It won't really impact me. Suckers, bunch of suckers. Abdul El-Sayed also called John Fetterman an ogre. I don't like that, even though he does look a little bit like Shrek.
He is definitely, yeah.
He looks a little bit like Shrek. Donkey, right? I mean, Fetterman is like an oaf of a guy. He's got this. I used to think he looked like Sasquatch until we decided that Letitia James is actually Sasquatch, and she has at you for you. One eye looking at you, one eye looking for you. Yeah. But, Al-Sayed is like John Fetterman. He called him like an ogre on a pike or something. I mean, again, personal. What happened to the whole, there's no body positivity, really? Then why are there, wait a second. If body positivity was this thing, right? Don't fat shame people. If being huge is some sort of accomplishment, then why is Ozempic a thing that everybody is taking? If being fat is such a glorious thing, right? Now, anyway, this question nobody wants to answer. Like, how come they're not going at Ozempic for fat shaming? You need weight loss? What's wrong with having weight? All right. Here's John Fetterman clapping back at Abdul El-Sayed for calling him an ogre. John Fetterman doesn't care. Call me whenever you want. He's going to continue to at least attempt to speak the truth, Roland.
I mean, I never worked out in male modeling. You could call me Senator Shrek, whatever. But this guy is really the Pontiac Platner, and now he's really running to be the head of our emerging pro-Hamas wing here in the party. So for me, politically, some of the things that he said or done are unacceptable to me. I'm not really sure what I've really done or voted for that has offended the little guy so much, but overall, right now, this is a serious game that we're engaging in, and these same people like Bernie Sanders and other people created the Platner disaster. He was asked just this Sunday. He has no regrets. Yeah, I have no regrets supporting an accused rapist. I have no regrets supporting a guy with a Nazi tattoo on his chest and a guy that roughed up his ex-girlfriends. There's a level of arrogance, and they feel like they have some weird mandate. And I'll stop this now, call it out. And that's what I'm willing to do as a committed Democrat.
You know, I got to tell you, John Federer, we should maybe take a cue from him. Notice we've stopped talking about Graham Plattner. That is a huge case, a huge piece of evidence to add to the case file of why, if you're a moderate Democrat, your party is gone. They nominated Graham frickin' Plattner. The guy has a Nazi tattoo on his chest. Take all the other misdeeds out of the equation regarding Plattner, right? The allegations, because they're just that, they're allegations. By the way, one more thing on Plattner. And the same thing happened to Swalwell. You ever notice the allegations came out? Why did the allegations come out against Eric Swalwell? It was to get him out of the governor's race. Why'd they want him out of the governor's race? Because there were too many Democrats in the governor's race. What does that mean? Well, because California has what's called a jungle primary. There's no partisan primary when you talk about governor. So the top two candidates of this field of 30 or however many candidates are on the ballot advance to the general election. Well, with Swalwell in there, the name recognition that he has, some people for whatever reason like him. Fang Fang lied, said she liked him, but she was just getting information off him. We call her, you look at Fang Fang, we call her Chinese takeout, right? Chinese takeout. Eric Swalwell had too much roast pork lo mein with Fang Fang. Think about it. She said, I have to get out of here. He has a tiny egg roll and little teeny tiny wontons. You know what I'm talking about. They had to get Swalwell out of the race because he was siphoning off too much of the vote. And there was a chance that Steve Hilton and Chad Bianco, two Republican candidates, were going to finish first and second in the jungle primary, which would allow them to advance to the general election, icing out the Democrats. So they got him out of the race with rape allegations. Are there criminal charges against Eric Swalwell? No. Why? Because they got what they wanted. It's not about them being completely taken aback and outraged over rape allegations. It's about political power. They wanted him out of the race. Same thing with Graham Plattner. The statute of limitations in Maine for rape is 20 years. The allegations against Graham Plattner are 5 years old. Everyone seemed to think they're credible. They were credible enough for the Democrat Party of Maine, for the Democrat National Committee, for Democrats all across the country, including Bernie Sanders and all the folks that endorsed them, to revoke and withdraw their endorsements. They're credible enough for that. They're not credible enough for a criminal investigation and criminal charges because it's not about accountability for the alleged crime. It's about political power. But Fetterman's doing something. I mean, we should, doesn't have to be our talking points all the time. It's an older story. I get it. But we should not let the left off the hook, not let the Democrat Party off the hook, and make that case to Democrat voters who continue to tell us that they're moderates, they're not commies. Your party it's the same party that nominated the Nazi tattoo guy. And they whitewash, everyone makes mistakes. What? He's got an identical tattoo on his chest. Identical to that of a tattoo that were worn by SS guards that guarded concentration camps. All I keep hearing about is if you wear a red hat with 4 words on it, you're a Nazi. Donald Trump is Hitler. Elon Musk gave a Nazi salute at the inauguration when he was waving to the crowd. Meanwhile, you quite literally nominated a dude with a Nazi tattoo on his chest. And he knew it was a Nazi tattoo. He called it his Totenkopf. That's what it's called. The death head. Fetterman is the only one bringing it up still. I get it. We don't need to dwell on it. There's other issues, SAVE Act, border, etc. But we should not let the left off the hook for that. And then they nominated Maine. He's got the nomination now. Troy Jackson. He's Graham Plattner without the tattoo. Down to he has a very bad temper with women. Why can't Democrats find good candidates? What is with the Democratic Socialists of America and finding dirtbags to run for these positions? So you went from Graham Plattner to Graham Plattner Light. And the only thing different between Troy Jackson and Graham Plattner is, okay, maybe you don't have rape allegations, fine. But you've got these bizarre stories about how he's been screaming at women on the floor of the Maine state legislature. There's a mortgage fraud thing with Troy Jackson. He's still a full-blown communist. Same policy stances as Graham Plattner. The DSA still loves this guy, Troy Jackson. He just doesn't have the Nazi tattoo and a rape allegation. Again, I've been saying it, and I've been saying it for a while. If you are a Democrat voter, you believe you're a moderate, and I still have a home on the Democrat. You do not have a home on the Democrat side of things. You do not have a home in the Democrat Party. This is not a home. It's a prison. You've been taken hostage. It's a jail cell. You don't have a home on the left. If you're like John Fetterman and you truly believe in a secure border, you're not welcome over there. I believe in a secure border. I don't believe in, no restrictions on abortion and the trans issues and a lot of the stuff that other quote unquote moderate Democrats say they believe in. But hey, I'm willing to say, all right, look, we have common ground on two things. Secure border, no communism. It's a great place to start. How about this November, moderate Democrats vote against communism and vote for that secure border by voting Republican? Or at the very least, stay home. Do not give your vote to Democrats. Do not put any more weight behind the communist snowball that's going down the mountain aiming for your country. All right. There's one more bit about this Abdul El Sayed. He is what I like to call, and many people, it's not my term, I didn't come up with it, but he is what I like to call a champagne socialist. What is a champagne socialist? It's a principle that Andrew Wilkow, one of my favorite radio hosts in the space, says all the time. Socialism, communism is never for the socialists. It's for the people. What do we mean by that? The rules that an Abdul Al Sayed, a Bernie Sanders, a Pocahontas, an AOC, these socialists, as Daria Lisa, Vila Chevalier, Zoran Mamdani, Milad Kiros, etc. The rules that these people expect you to live by are not the rules that they themselves follow. We talked about this yesterday when we were talking about Fauci, and I know he's testifying today, and we'll have to see.
Now.
He's testifying right now.
He's doing all plead the fifths, every one of
he's
them.
Pleading even though everyone's saying. Even though he has a pardon.
Yeah.
He's pleading the fifth. Yeah. I mean, and it's just, he has the right to do that because just because you have a pardon, it doesn't usurp your right to remain silent, your constitutional right to remain silent. So he's pleading the fifth, huh? So that's it. I plead the fifth. Okay.
Apparently he's saying fifth.
Fifth. Fifth. Stupid. I can't stand him.
That's what somebody said in the chat.
I want to just touch on this real fast. Some people were asking me, why are we talking about Fauci? It doesn't matter. He's going to plead the fifth. Nothing's going to happen. That was a point of personal privilege for me. I lived through some of the worst abuses of power in the history of New York State, I think, when I was up there in 2020. And as we went through the Fauci quote-unquote diary, which somebody brought up on X yesterday, stop calling it a diary because that implies a reasonable expectation of privacy, which is very true. It's a good point. Words matter. So when I say diary, I'm going to always preface it by saying, air quotes diary, his official journal. That's what it was. As a public official, we have the right to see that type of stuff. That's how Rand Paul was able to get it. But when we went through that and we saw that Andrew Cuomo took his recommendations, Bill de Blasio took his recommendations. I was in New York State living through that crap, calling it out in real time, getting banned, getting censored, getting shunned, getting put on lists, death threats, etc. I lived through it. A lot of you in the live chat did as well. So it felt really damn good to be vindicated by the man's own words. And I think it is incumbent on us to show, again, those moderate voters who thought we were being ridiculous during COVID and say, we told you so. Now let Tony Fauci tell you so. Read his official journal. It's pleading the fifth, huh? All right. The champagne socialist, like we talked about yesterday. Nancy, remember Nancy? I have to get my hair cut because it's too long and There's a virus. Where's my teeth? You got the Nancy teeth. There they are. These are the Nancy Pelosi teeth. She coughs them out every time she talks. Shut up. Remember she told the guy, shut up? We call her Spitting Nancy, right? She's a spitter. You had to go to Pep Boys to get a windshield wiper. She's a spitter. Horrible person. Maybe we'll put that in the Trump diary. I talked to Nancy Pelosi today, got soaked. She's a spitter. She spit all over me. I need new windshield wipers. Whether it's Pelosi, whether it's Newsom, whether it's Bernie Sanders, I am not going to stand in a line for United. I can't fly coach. I have campaigns to get to. I have to fly on a private jet to fight the oligarchy. Right? Medicare for all. None of these members of Congress who want to vote for Medicare for all are going to wind up on that plan. They have a cushy private health plan. Champagne socialists. Al-Said is no exemption to this rule. Check this out, post-millennial. Abdul Al-Said. Look at this. Michigan's DSA Senate hopeful Abdul Al-Said's delayed financial disclosure reveals vast properties in India and Dubai. He's got properties all around the world. All over the place. One property, a condo, is listed as being located in Bangalore, India. Valued between $100,001 and $250,000. Another one in Dubai with the same valuation, income and ownership listed. Another one in the United States. Generating tons of income for him and his family. It's interesting, the champagne socialists. And this is what I mean. The Democrats are fighting with each other. Haley Stevens actually called this out. The chipmunk was very angry. One might say she was a rabid chipmunk going at Abdul Al-Said on the debate stage over this issue. She doesn't name the rental properties. She doesn't name the rental properties specifically in this cut. But she does mention, hey, you're making a lot of money, bro. And nobody knows where the hell it's coming from. And we, the people, have the right to know. Fine, I actually agree with Haley Stevens on this point. Let's roll this clip from the debate. It's the final Haley Stevens clip we'll run today.
Also is about transparency, and you have not released your full tax returns. $300,000 in other income while you sat in the podcast chair and you hawked junk healthcare cures that RFK Jr. would thumbs up. You talk about getting money out of politics and putting money in people's pockets, but still no one knows who's putting the money in your pocket.
So there is Haley Stevens calling out Abdul Al-Said for being a champagne socialist. We talk about affordability and hoarding wealth. Ro Khanna did this as well. Oh, they're hoarding wealth. You know that Ro Khanna's children who were in elementary school made over $2 million in 2024 off of family-owned golf courses? Talk about hoarding wealth. By the way, I'm a capitalist. I don't care. The only reason I care is because Ro Khanna pretends to care. This Abdul Al-Said, Zoran Mamdani came from money. His parents own basically half of Uganda. They have this huge compound in Uganda. Bernie Sanders, millionaires and billionaires. Then Bernie Sanders becomes a millionaire. Billionaires and trillionaires. They should not exist. Guy's got 3 houses. Ilhan Omar, what? It's a $30 million net worth? Oh, that was an accounting error. Really? I don't think so. I don't think so. The Democrats are fighting with each other. They're calling each other out for their hypocrisy. I just hope enough moderate Democrats are watching and enough moderate Democrats are turned off from this embrace of communism on the left. All right, let's take a quick break. I want to get to a word from our friends over at Patriot Mobile. It is patriotmobile.com/Dan. So many brands today claim to stand for American values, but most of the time, it's all talk and no action. That is what makes Patriot Mobile different. For more than 12 years, Patriot Mobile has been living their values and standing in the gap for every American who believes freedom is worth fighting for. Their business was founded on a simple conviction. If culture is being shaped through commerce, Americans deserve a real conservative alternative. Today, Patriot Mobile is one of America's only Christian conservative wireless providers offering premium priority nationwide service on any of the 3 major U.S. networks with unlimited data plans, international roaming, and 100% U.S.-based customer support. That's pretty sweet. And with Patriot Mobile, you can even have 2 separate networks on one phone, giving you amazing coverage and peace of mind that you can't get with other carriers. Besides the great technology, what truly sets Patriot Mobile apart is their mission. Every year, Patriot Mobile contributes millions to organizations defending free speech, religious liberty, the sanctity of life, the Second Amendment, and America's future. Patriot Mobile is not sitting on the sidelines. They are on the front lines fighting for our freedoms. Go to patriotmobile.com/Dan or call 972-PATRIOT. Use the promo code DAN, D-A-N, for a free month of service. That is patriotmobile.com/Dan or 972-PATRIOT to make the switch today. patriotmobile.com/Dan. Thank you, Patriot Mobile, for being a part of the show. All right, I'm going to move on real quick. We got an interview with Vince Colonnese, the king of the mornings, here on Rumble. Where's my crown? Vince dropped his crown. Somehow we got a hold of Vince's crown, the king. So we will be getting to the king, an interview with the king in just a minute, King Vince. But here's an interesting story out of New York City. City-run grocery stores. Zoran Mamdani, we played this yesterday. Oh, we're going to open a city-run grocery store. Everything's going to be at a 30% discount. How are you going to pay for it? Oh, taxes. Who's paying those taxes? The wealthy. The rich have to pay their fair share. Right? The wealthy. Business owners. Business owners. Really? Yeah. So you mean to tell me that there are, for example, grocery stores in New York City, and the owners of those grocery stores, they have to pay a tax on their income to the city, right? Yeah. And so the income taxes that those stores and those store owners pay, and all that money that they pay on their income, is going to fund the very competition that threatens to put them out of business because they're going to sell everything at a 30% cost reduction? 30% discount? Huh. Well, New York City, as we've been told by Zoran Mamdani and many of the socialists over there in New York City, New York City is it's a product of immigrants, right? We're a nation of immigrants, they tell us. Fine, I have no problem with legal immigration. I don't have that issue. Oh, wouldn't you be pleased to know that the Multicultural Business Coalition, the MBC, is moving to sue Zoran the Moron Mamdani over government-run grocery stores alleging unfair competition. Quote, the mayor doesn't seem to want to sit down with us, NBC chairman Frank Garcia said, adding that Mamdani, quote, won't be able to bully these lawyers that we're going to bring in. Uh-huh. I have a twist for you. Ready for this?
Yes.
So these immigrant-run grocery stores. So immigrants own, whether it's a bodega, whether it's a bogota, as Jill Biden said, the bogotas. And then she called them breakfast tacos. Remember that? As diverse as the bogotas in New York City and the breakfast tacos, you can't stand in front of a room of Hispanics and then call them tacos. That's just not something you're supposed to do. But this is Jill Biden we're talking about. You did a great job, Joe. You answered all the questions. Yeah, but how did you answer the question? We finally beat Medicare.
Oh, no.
Oh, she's all...
You play yours.
She's screwed up.
I can't do it.
I no more think of myself as being as old as I am than fly.
There you go.
What's happening?
What's happening? There it is. There it is. The Multicultural Business Coalition's board voted to file a lawsuit in the coming weeks to block the initiative from Mamdani. This comes as Mamdani announced new details to slash the prices of basic items such as bread, milk, and cheese by 30%, claiming that without a profit motive, profit margins for grocery stores are usually around 2%. A 30% savings will be possible. So I ask you this. They're getting a lawyer, and they're saying that Zoran's not going to be able to bully the lawyers that they're going to bring in. So let me just put on my stereotypical hat, but what demographic tends to make very good lawyers?
Jews.
Oh! Could you imagine for just a second? Oh, would it be poetic justice if Zoran Mamdani's city-run grocery store initiative gets shut down by a talented Jewish lawyer? Go get him! Oh, it's going to be tasty. I'll eat it up. I'll just eat that narrative. Nom, 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 nom. How much did AIPAC give you to nothing? Zero goose eggs. Shut up. That's funny. So you're going to see the left eating itself alive. This goes right back to the whole theme of the show. The left, they are in a civil war with each other. Immigrants are now suing Mamdani. Well, we're a nation of immigrants, and we welcome the immigrants, except you're going to put these immigrant business owners out of business with your city-run grocery store initiative, or are you? Because they seem to have found a fantastic lawyer, and so help me, anybody. If this lawyer is a Jew, I am going to throw a parade. I am going to go absolutely, how funny would this be if immigrants teamed up with a talented Jewish lawyer to shut down Mamdani's initiative, and now you're going to have two talking points. These immigrants, they're standing in the way of affordability. How dare they? You're going to have that talking point, and then you're of course going to have the Jews. The Jews are running the world. It's the Jews. Oh man, the potential here. Please, MBC, not NBC, Multicultural Business Coalition. Please hire a Jewish lawyer, please. Oh,
would you look at that?
Would you? I need this. Just to watch the left, this is gonna like fan the flames over like Jasmine Crockett's eyelashes. It's gonna fan the flames. They plan to raise $1 million to fight against taxpayer-funded grocery stores and said the lawsuit should be a nonpartisan initiative. The group is planning on sending a letter in the coming days to put Mamdani on notice about the lawsuit. NBC and other business groups, MBC, Mike Bravo Charlie, and other business groups have said that Mamdani plans on pursuing the city-run grocery stores, whether or not it hurts small business owners. What happens if a grocery store goes out of business? What happens? Well, you lose now an entire location where you can buy groceries, right? So your supply of available groceries decreases, correct? But what about the people who are working in those grocery stores? What happens to them? What happens to them? They lose their jobs. Mamdani doesn't care about that. Because the goal of communism is what? They tell you equality, right? Equity, equality. Everybody winds up in the same place. You know what that place is? It's called poverty. It's called squalor. One area that the MBC is highlighting is where there are 5 bodegas located within a few blocks of where Mamdani plans to place a store in the area of Harlem known as La Marqueta. The business owners in Harlem fear that Mamdani's socialist project will put them out of business. Having items that sell for 30% less than our prices means nobody will go to our stores. Radames Rodriguez, the president of the United Bodegas of America, said. So Mamdani has these immigrant communities now in his crosshairs. It's no good. No good. All right, a couple of other items on this Democrat civil war that's happening right now. There is some polling. We're going to skip that. There's some polling on that the GOP could win the midterms again, the generic ballot. But then 4 points on one poll, 2 points on another poll. I understand polling is not perfect. I never said it was, but it is data. And we can use that data. We can interpret that data to take the pulse of the electorate. And right now, it looks like there is resistance to the Democrat Party. Now, granted, I'm going to be honest, I'm going to be fair. There are other polls that show a little bit of a larger lead for the Democrats on the generic ballot. One of those polls is Emerson, which is generally accurate. But when you look at one poll showing a large generic ballot margin and the rest of them showing a very slim generic ballot margin, you could say that poll's an outlier and see if it produces the same result the next time they run it. The Democrats are absolutely, though, embarrassing themselves. And I want to jump to this article over on Red State because they have no money. They have no money. Anyone find it interesting that after USAID had shut down, the Democrats are broke? They're a broke joke. USAID, right? That money laundering operation that was sending money all around the world. And it seems like maybe there was some kickbacks coming to the Democrat Party. Ken Martin, he's in way over his head right now. He won't call out the Democratic Socialists of America. Well, they're having problems raising money. They're also apparently having problems managing their own money.
The emperor has
no clothes. and a tiny egg roll. Okay, you won't believe the scam on Red State that the DNC fell for. Gentlemen, if you get a call from a guy, say, I am a Nigerian prince. You have won the lottery. Hang up.
Don't fall for it.
Yes, don't fall for it. Very good. Very good. Ken Martin has apparently been throwing tantrums. He's been throwing phones. People at the DNC are leaking, spreading rumors about him, despite Martin saying, don't do that. Here's the biggest problem. They're in big money trouble heading towards the midterms. I think Trump-aligned PACs have hundreds of millions of dollars ready to go. Now, that's got to be money well spent. You've got to spend it on worthwhile things. Okay? But they are $2 million in debt, the Democrat Party is, while the Republican National Committee has close to $130 million on hand. They're telling vendors to hold off on invoices until after the midterms. But they had a problem. You know, Nick Shirley, Leering Center, fraud. This is just hilarious. A thief scammed the cash-strapped Democrat National Committee out of nearly $29,000 last year, according to interviews with committee officials and previously unreported federal records. In February 2025, an unknown party sent a fraudulent email to a committee staffer pretending to be the chairman, Ken Martin. A DNC official familiar with the matter confirmed to Notice. Martin had just begun his tenure days before. The staffer, who is no longer at the DNC, made a payment to the fraudster. DSC claims they caught the person and the problem within minutes, but they were only able to recover. They caught the problem, not the person. They were only able to recover $7,000, 25% thereabouts. Did the scammer identify himself as a Nigerian prince? I am Ken Martin. You have won the lottery. Send me social security number and $29,000. That's like the scene from Trading Places. Merry New Year. We are moving. We are moving. Lionel Joseph. Bobili, ha! And $29,000 is out the door from an organization that has no money to begin with. It's just, what they called it? They won't call it fraud. They called it a misdisbursement of committee funds. Oh. Says it was the result of fraudulent activity by an external third party. Huh. So they got scammed probably by some Somali pirate somewhere, right? They opened the Leering Center with that $29,000. How it just, isn't it great when bad things happen to the Democrat Party? I think it's phenomenal. All right. I got to play one thing. Then we're going to get to Vince's interview after one more break. But I got to do one more. I'm sorry I have to do this to you. Okay? But I do this to our audience over on LFA TV all the time. Ahuya. That's Ahuya. That's the Democrats. I love it when the Democrats sing. And Brennan has aptly characterized them as what? What do you call them?
Unseasoned boiled chicken breast.
Unseasoned boiled chicken breast. You guys ever boil a chicken breast?
You guys had to be there.
I lost it that day.
Everybody did.
Have you ever boiled a chicken breast before? It turns into this gray hunk of boiled poultry.
Yeah.
And if you don't season it, it's just bland. They tell you if you're having a stomach issue to do that because there's literally nothing that can go wrong unless you're allergic to poultry. There's nothing that can go wrong. So she calls them unseasoned boiled chicken breasts because it's usually a group of fat, unattractive white people or just generally this oh my God, no energy. They just hate themselves. So I want to play this clip because they're singing again. And I love when they sing, even though they sing poorly. But this time, folks, they sang a remixed "We Will Rock You." Right? That's it's supposed to be. Yeah, keep going.
In the streets.
Be a big man someday. It's supposed to be That was good. We should take that on the road.
We should. I was almost Creedifying it.
That was great. Quite. She almost Creeded it. She Creeds everything.
I love Creed.
She turns Toby Keith into Creed. Right? What's that song?
Well, that was actually Creed.
That was actually Creed. But Toby Keith, right? We'll put a boot in your ass. I'm like, no.
You got to do it.
It's a Scott Stapp, not Toby Keith. So, We Will Rock You by Queen is like this inspiring. It's a stadium anthem. That is not what the Democrats did with this one. So let's roll. This is embarrassing. They're singing again. We're going to laugh our way into a quick break and into the interview with King Vince Colonnese. Let's roll it.
We will fight back. Fight back.
Fight back. Look at him. He doesn't want to be there.
Fight back.
Look at them.
Fight back. Stealing from the poor men, these old men cheating, redrawing those maps so they'll win someday. But in every single town, we won't back down. We the people say no kings and no crowns.
No crowns?
We will fight
F
back.
you, I got a crown.
Fight back.
Looks good on me too, right, Vince?
We will fight back. Fight back. The people will rise up, stand up, fighting the good fight all the way till election day. They can close the campus polls, they can purge the voter rolls, but we will win the fight for America's soul.
Oh, this is pathetic.
We will fight back. Fight back. We will fight back.
Oh my gosh.
Fight back. Thanks, y'all.
Okay, thanks. Yeah, great. You know what I have to say with that? Yeah. Was that not horrible? Yeah.
Who do you think you are?
Even Tucker's upset with that. Tucker loves the Democrats these days. He's even Greta's mad.
How dare you?
Right? Goodness gracious. Was that not the most... Doesn't that always make you want to, eat sandpaper? Ugh. By the way, the writing, the lyrics weren't so bad. Although I bet AI probably helped. But the lyrics weren't that... She just did a terrible job delivering it. She did a terrible job. And you see the crowd, they were like, oh, when is this going to end?
Low energy.
Unseasoned, boiled chicken breast. There it is. All right. All right, we got to get to our interview with the great Vince Colonnese. Before we do that, we got to get to a quick break, take a quick break, and get to a word from our friends at American Financing. If you're a homeowner, you've probably thought, should I call American Financing to refinance and pay off this credit card debt? Then you second guess yourself because of that low mortgage rate that you currently have. Listen, that low rate, it's not saving you. If you're drowning in credit card interest at 25% or more, that's the math no one wants to face, but it's costing you thousands. Here's the truth. If you're only making minimum payments, that debt will follow you for years. That is why people are calling American Financing, because they're saving customers an average of $800 a month by using their equity to finally break free from credit card debt. You owe it to your family to see what's possible. No upfront fees, no pressure. It costs you nothing to find out what you could save every month. And if you start today, you may be able to delay 2 mortgage payments. Call American Financing at 888-994-7660. That is 888-994-7660. Or visit AmericanFinancing.net/Bongino. AmericanFinancing.net/Bongino. Thank you, American Financing, for being a part of the show. All right, Bongino Army, it's that time of the week again. It is Wednesday. It is time. All rise for the entrance of Vince Colonnese, the king of morning podcasts. There it is. He is here. Sir, I don't know how I came in possession of your crown. You seem to have dropped this. It made its way down to the great state of Tennessee. But Vince Colonnese, good to have you here. We will not miss the Wednesday appearances. Even if Dan is out. So welcome to the show. Good to have you. I'm looking forward to our conversation.
I've been looking for that thing. Every morning I'm getting ready. I'm like, where's my crown at? There. Now I know it's in Tennessee. Thank you very much.
Yeah, or you could just get one in Party City. That's where I got that one, but that's okay. It's all good. Vince, you've been crushing it in the mornings. It's awesome to see. You're up bright and early. You've got this huge audience. And I was listening to your show yesterday about the Save America Act, nuking the filibuster. You came right at John Thune, and you're like, listen, this dude's lying. He is lying about the Civil Rights Act in the 60s, that they didn't use the filibuster to push it. You had Mike Lee explaining these rules. So why don't we just start there, 30,000 feet? Because I think this is an important issue. Heading into the midterms, Save America Act, vastly popular by the, in terms of support from the American people, voter ID. It's not controversial stuff unless you're Kathy Hochul and you think young black men don't know what computers are. But why don't you start 30,000 feet, some of the stuff you were talking about yesterday?
Well, the problem is, we know our elections are rigged in the United States of America, and the only party that's really interested in rigging them is the one that can't actually earn real votes. That's the Democrat Party. So right now, the Democrats are so freaking unpopular with the American people that they know the only way that they can win elections is by rigging them in their favor. We saw it. I mean, Shawn, I could go through the list. You've been through it a million times, too. 2016 is a perfect example. The election rigging operations that they tried to have underway, claiming that Trump was colluding with the Russians, that there was no way he could possibly win on a fair basis. Of course, he does win. And then what ensues after that is an attempt to rig the American system to try and prevent President Trump from exercising the power the people just granted to him by continuing the Russia hoax. The 2020 election, of course, chaos, as Democrats make it so that you can vote by drop box. And they continue to rig their own primaries over and over. Hillary Clinton is the product of a rigged election in the primary phase. Joe Biden is the product of a rigged election in the primary phase. And then in 2024, they try to rig the election yet again using Jack Smith, an unconstitutional special counsel, accusing the president of all sorts of fictional crimes, trying to remove him from ballots in Colorado and Maine so voters don't even get the option to select him. And of course, as always, rigging the media, which the Democrats have always specialized in. So we've got a lot of problems with our elections. And in the process of making America great again, restoring credibility to America's elections should be priority one. If the voter can't trust the system in which they operate, that is actually how you collapse the entire country. As distrust rises, civil liberties, constitutional rights, the ability to flourish in this country, they all disappear. I'll back up. You want to back up to 30,000 feet? Let's do another example for a moment. There's a reason why everybody's freaking out about the surveillance cameras being dropped all across the country right now, like the flock cameras and all of this, license plate readers, and everybody's being surveilled. It's because as American citizens, we want our privacy. We value it. We want to live in a society where we have law enforcement and we have trust. That's what we want. We don't want like a distrustful, suspicious, constantly surveilled upon society. We resent that with every fiber of our being. So in order to get back to a country that doesn't need flock cameras all over the place, you have to impose law and order. You need secure borders, and you need bad guys to be arrested and kept in jail.
Absolutely.
That as simple as it gets. And then you don't need cameras watching the law abiding. The same is true in our elections. If you have an orderly, credible election, then you don't have problems. The American people trust it. They feel good about it. And then even if you lose because your candidate didn't win, it didn't make the better argument, then you're like, you know what? We'll get them next time. But that's not where we are right now. We are heading towards so much, and I would say revolutionary chaos if we can't fix our election, which is why we want the Save America Act. Now, this is why I've been pressuring these guys for as long as I've had the microphone in front of me, and this bill has existed at the same time. I'm obsessed with it, perhaps to my detriment. I don't know if it's great for the audience for me to constantly be talking about it, but I'm so passionate about it. And in reality, my audience is so passionate about it that we've been banging this drum like crazy, Shawn. And it brings us to this week where we're begging Republican senators, we're browbeating them into just literally foregoing their vacation to focus on this, which is like crazy that we have to do it. The list is now up to 12. We have 12 Republicans who are on our side. Yeah. But there are 53 Republican senators, Shawn. Why do we only have 12?
This 12 out of 53. Yeah. That's unacceptable. And I don't think it's a bad thing. They say, am I too obsessed over the Save America Act? This is you mentioned revolutionary. This is a revolutionary piece of legislation. It's common sense. It's supported by a very large chunk of the American population, and yet the Senate isn't passing it. They're actively choosing to find excuses as to why they can't get something done that 80+% of the population wants, which, to me reeks of taxation without representation. What exactly are you doing? We're telling you how we want the meal cooked, and you keep bringing out the steak, and it's not cooked the right way. What are we doing here? You also brought up, and I'm glad you did, Biden in 2020 and the rigging of the primary process. A lot of people don't remember that it was Jim Clyburn's endorsement of Joe Biden ahead of Super Tuesday that forced the rest of the field to coalesce to once again steal it away from Joe Biden. Steal it away from Bernie Sanders.
Yes.
Then in 2024, they just decided, Biden won a primary, doesn't matter. Same thing in Maine with Graham Plattner.
Yep.
Right. So the Democrat Party seems to be at war with itself. They're the ones undermining their own democratic process. And they're also the ones who are standing in the way of the Save America Act with bizarre excuses, Vince. Bizarre. That married women wouldn't be able to change their name. When my wife and I got married, we had no problem. And we're not like legal experts or anything special, right?
Yes.
That African Americans or minority communities can't get ID. When you have Kathy Hochul saying young black men in the Bronx don't know what computers are. And yet the mainstream media, they just let that kind of thing slide and they don't act like it's that big a deal. What are we doing?
Look, Democrats are perfectly content when demographics that don't vote for Democrats don't show up to the polls. Which demographic doesn't vote for Democrats? Let's see. Married women. Have you ever looked at the survey data on married women? They're all Republicans. Not all of them, but most of them are Republicans. The majority of married women are Republican voters. And the idea that Democrats are fighting very zealously to protect Republican voters is such horse crap. It's unbelievable. It's like they're not fighting for that. They don't care about that. They are using this like patronizing talking point to suggest that married women are too stupid to go through the process of verifying that they're American citizens. Which is nonsense. It's complete nonsense. And the reality is, of course, we need secure elections. And you brought up, and I want to return to it because I forgot to mention it, Thune. John Thune, who is trying to talk himself out of this corner. Like, the reality is, like, the most disappointing reality to all of this is these Republican senators they think you're a conspiracy theorist for being concerned about elections. That's one.
Right.
They have a very patronizing view towards the base. And two, they're too lazy to do this. That is fundamentally the explanation here. I hate to be the bearer of obvious news. They just don't want to stand on their own 2 feet and fight for something of value. It doesn't line their pockets. It doesn't improve the quality of life of the cronies that are around them. It's entirely about, well, that's hard. I don't want to do that. I work 3 days a week. Why would I stand on my own 2 feet and do a filibuster that could take a couple of weeks in order to get this passed for the American people? So when Thune goes on national television this week, and he's asked about the Save America Act, the thing I really resented was the dishonesty. Thune is not a stupid person. He's not a stupid person. But he gets up there and he goes, we've never done that before. Use the filibuster to change votes, to get people to our side. That's never been done before. Yes, it has. And then he says, the Civil Rights Act was passed through regular order. The Civil Rights Act of 1964. The Civil Rights Act, just to remind people in case they don't realize, had a 30-vote deficit when the filibuster began. Right now, we have a 10-vote deficit for the Save America Act. The Civil Rights Act of 1964 had a 30-vote deficit. They began the filibuster, and through sheer torture of those senators, they exhausted them. They eventually were able to wring out 30 more votes just to end it and get the Civil Rights Act passed. That's what happened. And now we're talking, Shawn, about the civil rights legislation of our lifetimes, the Save America Act. And all we're asking for is 10 votes.
That's
and
it.
If you can't get 10 Democrats to come to their freaking senses and pass this thing, fine. Exhaust debate, then pass it with a simple majority. And that's what we call regular order. That's real, and you can do it.
Yeah. I remember listening to that. You talking about that yesterday. And, it's, the numbers, right? You began with a 30-vote deficit with the Civil Rights Act, whittled it away slowly. You're down to 10. You're down to 10 with the Save America Act now. It's just that they don't want to do it. Dan always talks about this, like, why aren't Democrats addressing the immigration problem? Because they don't want to, right? Why aren't we addressing election integrity issues? Because they don't want to. And the same goes for John Thune. It's just that it seems like they don't want to. They want to work there 3 days a week. They want to go on a month-long vacation despite getting nothing done. I mean, I've never worked at a job where I could be so non-productive and then get a month off. I think it's unbelievable.
Yes.
What they're actually pushing here.
Well, you would hate yourself, by the way. If you spent your whole year doing nothing but developing bed sores, and then you're like, I'm going to take a vacation now. In the end, you would be consumed with self-loathing. You'd be like, God, I'm a sack of shit. I haven't done anything. I've been sitting around doing nothing. I hate myself if I ever spend time being idle like that. The Senate does it all the time. And I don't know how they're not overwhelmed with self-loathing.
Yeah. I mean, I don't get it. I can't understand being in the mindset that being that unproductive is like, you could just be content with that. And you could be complacent with that. And you could be comfortable. But I think that's the problem. These guys are comfortable I'm hoping that some Republicans have taken a lesson from what happened in Indiana with those state senators, what happened to Bill Cassidy, what happened to Thomas Massie, what happened to John Cornyn.
Yeah.
But it seems like they're mad about it. Like, how dare the voters actually hold us accountable? How dare them make us do our jobs? Like, it is your job. We pay your salary, right? And it's crazy.
I think there's a lesson in that, though, that's a good one, which is that the reality is, like, sometimes we have to play the long game to get what we want. You know, overturning Roe versus Wade took over half a century. To get to the Dobbs decision took a half a century of people like my grandmother going out and standing in front of abortion mills, protesting, fighting for what she believed in, fighting on behalf of the rest of us. And we finally achieved that. It took a long time, but it was through dogged determination and effort and the president of the United States, this president, making the right appointments to the court. We got a great decision that was the product of a lot of hard work. It was deliberative. It took time. You know, the left likes to move quickly in its riggings. The right moves deliberatively in its successes. That's just the reality. And that includes with bringing accountability to people who've rigged our elections, who've interfered, COVID, all the prosecutions we want. You know, as you talk about, Dan talks about, these things take time. If you do them the right way, it takes time to do things the right way. And so cleaning out the Republican Party is also a thing that takes time. And we're beginning to see some of the fruits of that. We just fired John Cornyn. We just fired Bill Cassidy. We just watched as Thom Tillis saw the writing on the wall. He's quitting before North Carolina voters could fire him.
Right.
That's happening. And that means over time, if we stay on this path of this unrelenting attention to the affairs of Washington, because you and I and this audience, we're now the parole officers for these guys. We are checking in with them on a daily basis to see whether or not they're on the straight and narrow. And if they fail, we're holding them accountable. And it's deliberative, and sometimes it's going to take longer than we want. But in the end, we can win, so we should stick to it.
I agree, and it is a long process. I always I equate it to, you know, everyone wants everything done now. We have this 90-second attention span. Well, you wouldn't microwave your steak, right? Because it's going to taste like crap. You got to cook it low and slow. You got to do a great job. Nobody wants to do a bad job. You don't stick your steak in the microwave just because you could eat it quicker. Okay.
Although I think Trump would be happy with a microwave steak.
That's probably the one reason. Well, there's two reasons then that people are going to get mad. I'm joking. So just full disclosure, I'm joking. If there were two things I'd want Donald Trump impeached over, it's the well done steak and it's this obsession with the World Cup. I don't like soccer. But other than that, you know, the guy's been great. That's it. Now, he would probably microwave the steak because he does the whole well done thing, which is
he's busy. He's got too many things to handle and he likes well done steak.
Well done steak. It is.
It's funny because I don't know. I've told this story before, Shawn, years ago at the New Hampshire primary. I don't know if I told this to you, but in the New Hampshire primary 2016, remember the debate happens the night before the primary. And that debate was the one in which Marco Rubio was sweating on stage and President Trump was giving him all sorts of crap for it. Yeah. So that night, it's very snowy in Manchester. I'm at a steakhouse that evening, right after the debate, right nearby. But very few people were at the steakhouse, but we had a four-wheel drive vehicle. We're sitting at the table there. And the Secret Service comes in all of a sudden. And there's very few people who have Secret Service protection at that moment. I think it was like Ben Carson and Donald Trump. Maybe we're the only guys. And we're like, okay, who's coming? Who's it going to be? And sure enough, Trump and his entire family walk into the steakhouse. And it's amazing. So we say hi to the whole family, we talk to everybody. He goes and sits down at his table. And he leaves before we do. And after his dinner's over, we asked the maitre d', I'm like, what do you order? You got steak. How do you order it? Well done. I was like, oh, no. I was loving the Trump campaign up until that moment. I was like, oh, no, that's a weakness. We should probably keep this a secret.
Yeah, don't tell anybody, right? Don't tell anyone that you like your steak well done. Don't do it. All right, I have an interesting. Here's an interesting thing. Let's think about this. Let's go into hypothetical fantasy mode. It's Vince Colonnades, King Vince, is the chairman of the RNC. And you're advising Republicans going into the midterms on a single issue. Take the Save America Act out of the equation because we just went into that. What is the single issue that you think could win Republicans the midterm elections, House and Senate? Immigration, economy, crime, war in Iran, something else entirely. You are the chairman of the RNC. You've got a magic wand. You're going to wave it. You're going to get Republicans to lock in on this issue because you think if we lock in on this issue and deliver on this issue, you've got a midterm election victory bucking the historical trends.
I think that fundamentally the answer to a lot of our problems is what I mentioned earlier, which is we have to restore trust. to the United States of America. If you can restore societal trust, we can flourish again. There was an era which we referred to, especially in the 80s, with the latchkey kids, like people who could, they could just leave home and go out, come back when the street lights come on. You relatively had trust in your neighbors. If you needed somebody to look after your kids, you didn't have to pay some exorbitant sum to somebody with 1,000 background checks to do it. You know what I mean? Like you had a community that you could trust people. And in order to get there, you need law and order. So the president has begun this effort. I mean, this is why when you run a campaign like this and Republicans are in charge of everything, you're running on the record that you've achieved so far. I mean, it really is. The voters have to give you a report card on whether or not you've succeeded. And the answer on the border is 100,000% yes. President Trump has restored order to America's border. That's not even up for debate. In fact, Democrats don't even talk about it anymore. It's such a huge success. That's a massive thing, and Republicans should run on that. Restoring sovereignty to the United States of America, restoring the sovereignty of the American citizen, and restoring trust to our communities. Law and order. Don't release criminals from jail. Impose consequences on people who break our laws. Prevent foreigners from being here who shouldn't be here in the first place, and deport them when we get a hold of them. Stick to mass deportations. Don't relent on that for a moment. I know there's been a lot of debate about that subject. And restore order and trust and dignity to the United States of America. Run a campaign of restoring American dignity. And I think that would go a long way for people. I mean, look, affordability is always a huge issue. The president really cares about it. That is a huge issue. You want dignity and you want possibility. You want the ability to earn for your family and to take care of them, to have a roof over their head and to feed them. You need that in the United States of America. That's why we need flourishing American energy. American energy is the answer to so much of this. Yeah. I mean, Shawn, like the economy, it goes back to energy. Foreign policy, it goes back to energy. Look at a lot of the foreign policy conflicts are all energy related.
Right.
If you get nuclear and all the treasures that are underground in America absolutely flowing, being refined here, and we get human flourishing going at new levels, man, we could be in for another great American century. And I think you can run on all of that.
I think you're right. Now, as the head coach of the Republican Party, you're game planning now against what your opposition on the other side of the football is going to do. Right, something that my favorite team, the New York Jets head coach, never seemed to be able to do. Right, they can't game plan about. They have no idea what's coming, even though everybody else knows what's coming. So you're the you're the head honcho over at the RNC now, and you're game planning. You're looking at the Democrats. You're looking at the team across the ball. What do you think they believe their best path back into power is? Is it really communism? Are they overplaying their hand here with regards to leaning into this far left stuff and leaning into this going commie because it's winning the primaries for them? But is this an overstep going into the general election? What do you see in terms of the Democrats and their divide?
Well, I think the Democrats are made up of two specific groups of people within their party ranks. You have the radicals, the revolutionaries, and then you've got the ballless cowards who run the party, who are coddling the radicals, which is why, like Hakeem Jeffries, I don't think he actually has a true ideological conviction of any kind. I think he's just immensely weak, which is why he's paying all sorts of low IQ lip service to what I call the AOCs, the agents of chaos that dominate the Democrat Party. Because fundamentally, he's kind of intimidated by them and he desperately wants power. I mean, in the Democrat Party, you can detect that there's a lot of power junkies, like people who once tasted power, who really want it back, and they will kill anyone to get it. That's what they really want. And they have this really demented relationship with the commies that are in their party. And the commies have not really hidden it. I mean, from the founding of the Democrat Socialists in the middle of the last century, they've always been kind of intentional about their plans. It wasn't to create a third party. It was to co-opt an existing party. And it's quite obvious it would be the Democrat Party, which is what they've done very successfully. Bernie Sanders was just on television this past weekend gloating about it, saying Rahm Emanuel and all these other people represent this establishment billionaire party. He's like going on and on about how they're like not the real people who are going to run the show anymore. I'm just looking at this. I don't know that they have a unified strategy. They're like, as you've been covering, they are chickens with their heads cut off right now. They have no money. They have no real strategy. They have revolutionaries all around them who are trying to seize whatever seats they can get. And my hope, and obviously, this is a gamble, but my hope is that party is going to implode in upon itself given the destruction that's happening within it. I know the right, there's a lot of conversations on the right, debates about foreign policy and who's the right guy for 2028. But while we may be engaged in sincere and sometimes aggressive debates, the left is in an all-out civil war amongst itself with a lot of cowards and revolutionaries, and that's a pretty toxic brew.
I agree. Vince Colanese is the host of Vince on Rumble, rumble.com/Vince, every weekday, 8 a.m. Eastern time, and a killer national radio show from 12 to 3, The Vince Show. Appreciate you jumping on this morning, Vince. Mr. King, your Majesty. Right, we'll hit the music one more time. I'll send you the,
Thank you. Or I'll go by Party City and pick it up, just because apparently they have one too. But Shawn, let me tell you though, congratulations. I could not be more excited that you are joining the umbrella here of what the Bonginos have built. It is like the most exciting thing ever. It is so long overdue. The whole audience was wondering why the hell this didn't happen so long ago. But of course, the reason for that is because Shawn has an incredible team of lawyers and agents who've been negotiating the most obscene contract you've ever seen. But the point is, I'm so glad you're doing this, Shawn. So thank you and congratulations. Can't wait to do it with you.
Thank you so much. As Vince mentioned before, all good things take a little bit of time. And so I'm very happy to be joining, excited to join the lineup. Vince, thanks for jumping on. Appreciate it. We got to run. And keep up the great work on your radio show and on your podcast. Vince Colanese, host of Vince on Rumble, rumble.com/Vince, every weekday, 8 a.m. Eastern time. Folks, remember to subscribe to my new show launching August 17th. It is called Shawn Farash Live. You can go to Bongino.com/Shawn, SHAWN. You got to spell it right. If I find out that you're spelling my name wrong, we have a lot of problems, okay? I'm going to drop Stacey Abrams on your house, so you don't want that to happen. You definitely don't want that to happen. Bongino.com/Shawn. Subscribe to us on Apple Podcasts. Subscribe to us on Spotify. Rumble.com/Shawn is where the show will run weekdays, 1 p.m. Eastern time. The video product exclusively on Rumble. Haley Carania coming up at noon. Don't miss Vince tomorrow morning at 8 a.m. Eastern time. Rumble.com/Vince. The entire Silverlock lineup is killer, and you don't want to miss a thing. We'll be back here tomorrow one more time, filling in for the great Dan Bongino here on rumble.com/Bongino. As you see on your screen, hit that follow button, subscribe to the Dan Bongino Show anywhere you get your podcasts as well. As President Trump says, we will never give up, we will never give in, and we will never, ever surrender. Folks, have a great rest of your Wednesday. We'll see you back here tomorrow morning. God bless you. God bless America. And thank you for your attention to this matter.
Hey there, I'm Vince.
I'm Haley Carania.
Host of Vince.
Host of Scrolling with Haley.
You can always catch my show right here.
Right here on the Bongino Report.
Live, 8 a.m. Eastern, weekday mornings.
Weekdays at noon. If you miss it, no worries. The show will always be
right here
and anywhere you find podcasts. Thanks for watching.